Wow, it's 2020, so that means it's time to load all of last year's amazing content into this truck that I have right here. Let's see. Let me put it into reverse. No. Look out! Ah! No! Maybe I should have let Jeff handle the driving.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, your friendly neighborhood Glenn here, and I am happy and thrilled to welcome all of you to 2020, my friends. Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be taking this journey along with you every single week here on the No Vacancy podcast as we try to figure out the best ways to have a good time while making a lot of money in the hospitality industry. And I think today's show really represents that because I've got two great guests today that I think are going to inspire you and excite you, get you to think a little bit differently today. So I can't wait to get to that today. But I got to say, hey, are you subscribed to our podcasts? Are you getting them on a weekly basis? I would urge you and encourage you to sign up right now. Get our newsletter. Just text the word hotel to 66866. It's just that easy. The word hotel, just text it to 66866. It'll prompt you, put in your email, and every Sunday night you'll get our newsletter. And of course, follow this show on Apple iTunes along with the Hotel Tech Podcast and the Business of Hotels podcast on the No Vacancy feed. And then we've got Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, a great show that I do with Anthony Melcuri of Hotel Impossible. Our latest episodes are out for that. The last two, you got to check in with Global Head of True Hotels, Taylene Staub. We learn all about that brand, but more importantly, we talk about her and her career journey as well. That was a great interview. And another great interview we have on that just was put up, episode 86, is Mary Beth Cutshall. If you guys are industry people out there in the conference scene, you know her. You can't escape her. She is ubiquitous out there, and she is the Chief Development Officer with HVMG. And we talked to her about what her career arc was and learned some very, very surprising things. Mary Beth is absolutely a great person. You're going to love those interviews. So check that out on the Checking In feed. And you're probably saying to yourself, Glenn, how do you turn out so much content? You got all these different series going on, all these different great personalities. Man, I just love it. And I have so much fun. Speaking of great content, I don't know if you're checking out our LinkedIn live shows that we've started monkeying with that at the end of 2019. And now we're going to be getting full bore into it 2020. I think I've done 4 or 5 of them already. And I do hope to do these things on a mostly weekly basis going forward. But because my Kookabadookoo travel schedule is very difficult to find a very specific time for us to do that. But I'm going to be working that out. Let me know what you guys think about how we can improve our LinkedIn live experience and help create some more fun shows and information for you. What I really like about that particular format is it's kind of taking this podcast thing one step further along. We get to have audience feedback, so we get to really tailor stuff to what you want, what you need, what you're hoping to achieve from that show. And to me, that is absolutely the ultimate, because everything I do here, I really want for you folks to find of much benefit. And that's why today we're going to do 2 great interviews. But before we get to that, I want you guys all out there to think about Almo Hospitality. You know I talk about them. These guys are the best. They're huge supporters of mine, and I would love for you to support them and create a circle of happiness where we can all do better together. And these guys in Almo Hospitality are absolutely incredible. You can find them at hospitality.almoproav.com. But more importantly, they are your go-to partner for simplifying FF&E deployments for the guest room and beyond all over your hotel. They've got industry-leading brands, the latest hospitality trends, distinctive new-to-market brands, lots and lots of great stuff over there. You got to follow them online, follow them out on LinkedIn, like them on Facebook, and you'll learn all about what they're going on. I also host a series of videos with them that really gets into in depth on how their products and services work and what you can gain from partnering with them. I had a great time always talking with them, and I'd love for you to save some money by partnering with them. So today, all right, like I said, I said it again and again and again. I got 2 great interviews coming up. After the commercial break, where we hear from our great sponsors, Red Roof, we're going to talk to Scott Gerber. He's the CEO and principal of Gerber Group. You know who Gerber Group is. They are the preeminent nightclub, bars type of organization in hospitality. They may have gotten their start partnering with Mr. Ian Schrager back there before going on their own. You know their brand Whiskey. They were synonymous with W Hotels They are the folks behind the bars and drinking outlets at the TWA Hotel, their newest project. So we talked to Scott Gerber all about what that career journey was like, how they're making money in the nightclub, well, more like the bar scene, because I don't want you to think nightclubs, not like that at all. Upscale bars, they've got the Campbell Apartment over at Grand Central Station, Grand Central Terminal, for example, in New York City. A lot of great products that are out there. So we're going to learn all about what they're doing to keep their products fresh and profitable, and you're going to learn lessons that are going to help you make more money at your hotel by following some of the principles laid out by Scott Gerber today. But before that, right now we're going to be speaking with Eric Willhite. He's the director of food and beverage at the Mayfair Hotel. Now, the Mayfair Hotel is a historic hotel that kind of went bad. You know how a lot of hotels, all of these historic hotels kind of went bad, but many of them have these great Renaissance stories, the ones that are still standing, and the Mayfair Hotel is absolutely one of those. So we're going to talk about how they redesigned the property from the food and beverage perspective. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Great way to kick off our year talking about food and beverage and getting you all excited for the potentials for profits for getting your drink on in 2020. All right, I want to thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next time. Just remember, your trip is short, and this has all been wonderful, and now I'm on my way. See you guys soon. All right. And you guys know I love to eat. In fact, I'm a little bit starving right now, so I'm a little bit worried that this interview is going to go in the wrong direction. I don't mean because of our guests going in the wrong direction, but I mean about me fantasizing about food the entire time, because I'm talking today to the GM of Food and Beverage Operations at the classic Mayfair Hotel, and I'm talking about Mr. Eric Willhite. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Glenn?
It is so good to see you, man. How cool is it working at a hotel that's been around for since 1926? I was going to say about 90 years, but I didn't quite do the math right. How awesome is that?
It's actually amazing. It's actually my second time being a part of a historic hotel like this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I was at the Hollywood Roosevelt for 3.5 years.
Oh, my goodness.
So now coming over here, I feel just at home. But it's, the Hollywood Roosevelt has that historic feel to it. When this hotel, it just is all glamour.
When were you at the Roosevelt Hotel? I'm going to guess since it was revitalized, but there was a period of time where it's like, why does this hotel still exist? But so you were there after it made its comeback, right?
Yeah. So we actually joined the Roosevelt in 2016.
Cool.
Yeah, right after the renovation. So it did have that really cool historic feel to it, but it was updated. It's modern. So it's a fantastic hotel right in the heart of Hollywood.
Right.
So it's just a destination for a lot of people.
That's pretty cool. So now you're over at the Mayfair Hotel, definitely a classic hotel, a hotel that I think a lot of us just really, really know. Great opportunity for you. But one of the cool things is that you've recently redone your restaurant and opened up it as a new signature restaurant called La Cala. And the reason why I want to talk to you about this today is because I think what you're doing is you're really trying to not just be where the trends are, but just kind of make some of those trends too. So I'm curious as to what it's like putting together an entirely new restaurant concept and what your involvement is. And let's learn a little bit about that. So were you brought on to help with this particular project? Because you've been in there, 4 months or something like that?
Yeah, about 4 months. So yeah. I think coming aboard, and I was originally, brought on to kind of revamp the entire food and beverage program for the Mayfair. I don't think that, in 2018, we went through a complete renovation on the room side, also for the entire hotel. And I think we're just kind of getting our feet wet into the food and beverage program and really truly making it, a Mayfair experience when it comes to food and beverage. Mm-hmm. So I believe that's what I was brought on for. Okay, so let's roll back the clock a little bit. Where was the food and beverage program before? Was it something that probably reflected what the Mayfair was 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and then it just kind of failed to stay within the zeitgeist of food or something like that? So I think that's an accurate description. Yeah. I think with the Mayfair and its relaunch in 2018, right. I think it was still trying to gain its identity, and I don't know if they knew exactly where it was going to go. They didn't have they had a good plan. on what the food and beverage was going to be like, or the outlet and what they were going to offer and how they were going to be different. So I think, coming aboard, the food and beverage was ran by Hospitality Alliance for a little while, and then it's now switched over to Crescent Resorts and Hotels. So I'm a part of the Crescent team, and then we're able to put together, this food and beverage program and design it the way we feel it should be ran, and what it feels like when you walk into the Mayfair and you get that, oh wow kind of moment. We want that same reaction when it comes to the food and beverage portion of it.
Of course, which makes sense. And then I'm going to add the other wrinkle there, which obviously, if you're in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, you also need to appeal towards people that aren't staying in the hotel. So you have to focus on a particular concept that's going to delight absolutely everybody. That I think also reflects the I actually got a press release here. I can't say it any better, but the rich diversity of Los Angeles, a multicultural city that also has people from all over the world coming to visit. So how do you go ahead, and I'm sure you worked with executive chef Caro Patyan in order to get this done. Yes. But how do you start to break down all of the food and beverage that's in the universe and create a program and a menu and a plan that you feel is really going to hit on the nose for customers?
Yeah, it's not only do we want to, because, as for downtown LA, we have a lot of travelers. And we get a lot of Europeans. We get a lot of different ethnicities that come into the Los Angeles area, but they really want to get a taste of what Los Angeles is all about. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of hotels, like in the area, that's what they focus on, and that's what they're trying to bring to their customer, and try to give them a true downtown experience or a true LA experience. As we both know, Los Angeles. So
do you make them go get tacos at a food truck out back? Is that what happened?
You know what? There are a lot of tamale ladies that are right outside who are fantastic.
Yeah, of course.
And you really can't go wrong there. But,
no, I actually, just all joking aside for a second, I freaking love the taco trucks. Speaking about downtown LA, there used to be a great taco truck right outside the LA Live complex, but I guess construction kind of pushed them away. And every year I would go out there, I'd make sure I hit that taco truck. So I do highly suggest people check out food trucks right after you have a meal at Locala. So please continue, sir.
Just speaking onto that as well, that's why Chef Carl is so brilliant, because he did a riff on Maurice's Jalisco's tacos, and he did his own version of it, which is unbelievable. So that's like a staple dish within the restaurant, and that everyone must try, so they can compare the two greats.
Yeah, I like that. All right. So what you were saying was you got a lot of different folks coming from all over the world that want to have a real taste of Los Angeles. So I guess the question is, what is the real taste of Los Angeles?
You know what? I think it's what anyone makes it. And I think that's what the beautiful thing about Chef Carlo is, because he has been able to put his own spin on what he feels LA food is all about and kind of what it represents. And, not only do we want to, create an experience for people who are visiting LA, but also those of us who live here, because we do love to go out to eat. We do love different food. We want to make this a location where everyone wants to come, and that includes the locals.
Right, and that's absolutely essential. And all of you folks out there listening, I never stop carping on this particular subject. If you're only appealing towards folks in your hotel, you're putting yourself into a position to lose money. So you have to figure out a way to appeal towards the folks that are not just staying there, who probably want to go out and try some great Los Angeles restaurants as well, and try to get those folks to come in. So you're trying to figure out with the chef what all of these things are, and you came up with a lot of items that seem to be a lot of that street food kind of stuff that we were talking about, but with much more upscale twist. How did you arrive on that particular concept?
So it's kind of just really picking Chef's brain and seeing what he wanted to put out there for people, what he thought in his version of what street food was. He was born and raised in Los Angeles. He's immigrants of some of his parents that are. Can we rewind that? Because I should have.
I know. All right. So do you know where he is from now?
Yes.
And then I'll recue it. All right. I'm gonna do 3, 2, 1, clap, and then you start from the beginning of that sentence. Okay. Here we go. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
So, it was really just trying to pick Chef Carlo's brain. He was born and raised in Los Angeles. He's a child of Armenian immigrants. So they really loved to go out to eat. They enjoyed it. They did it his entire life. So, it was just his version of what this food and what LA and what he kind of grew up eating and really putting it all out there. For 13 years, he was under chef for Wolfgang Puck. And he has that culinary excellence. And now he was able to create a menu that was just under his vision and, really inspire the chefs in the kitchen, the other cooks in the kitchen to really show what he's made of.
Okay, so how does all of this work in the sense that he's the executive chef? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got the name executive right there in his title, and you're the GM of food and beverage. So where is the delineation of roles start and end between the two of you, in particular when it comes to finalizing what the menu is going to be? Because there's got to be some sort of partnership where each of you kind of excel in different areas but have to come together to create the best product that's possible.
Absolutely.
And most profitable.
I think first and foremost, I think Chef Carl and I have a great relationship because it's all
of course.
I love what he does. I think he's a true artist. I think he is one of a kind when it comes to kitchen operations. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think he has a respect for me and what I do because of some of the great chefs like Jose Andres and Hotel Group operations that I've been a part of. And I think that service and food, they go hand in hand. They both have to be great. And I want to showcase what he is all about because he can only put artwork on a plate, and then it's up to my servers in the front of the house to really explain it and really bring him to life while explaining these dishes. And when I worked at the Bazaar, that's what really elevated my service career and really kind of understood what food really does to people when you bring something out and they're just like, wow. Okay, amazing. Now talk to me about this and how do I eat it and what does chef recommend? Because now we're putting him on a plate and really highlighting that.
Absolutely. And, of course, Eric is talking about Bazaar Meat in Las Vegas at the former SLS, which is now Sahara. And that particular dining outlet made the cut when everything got changed. So when did the restaurant open? Just like last month, right?
Yeah, it's literally been open for just over a month.
Woo! Oh, man. So tell me, what have you guys learned so far? One thing that's working really well, and then one thing you're like, damn, we got to change that.
So I think the one thing that works really well is that we changed out the entire restaurant. We really opened the restaurant to the hotel lobby. For any of those who have been in the Mayfair before, back when it was Eve Restaurant, there was a little side door, just like, a glass panel door and then there was a little neon sign over the top, and that was the entrance to the restaurant. And it's literally, you could not see, you had no idea there was a restaurant there.
Yeah, right.
So we blew out like almost an entire wall, and now it's like wide open to the lobby. It's kind of a part of the hotel and a part of the lobby experience. Mm-hmm. And then we were able to change out all the tables and chairs in there, throw a new artwork in there, and really kind of brighten it up and liven up the restaurant. As before, I think it was a little dark. It was a little, just not an area of the hotel that was like that wow factor that when you walk in the door. And it was kind of just like off to the side. And if we want to eat, we could maybe try it. But now, you see, it's wide open to the lobby. You see people dining in there, and it's a part of an experience that you want to be involved in.
Yeah, that's cool. And I want to ask you about one thing that you've realized your operations needs to change. But I do want to stick on this topic for a second because I think it's so important. A lot of times when we're talking about restaurants, we speak about the food. And yes, the executive chef does a great job creating that artwork on a plate that Eric so well said. But if you're not creating the right environment that get people to have an emotional connection with each other over a meal, which will get them to spend more money, then you're really missing out. So, Eric, what do you think about? Because this seems to me to fall more under your GM title than it does the executive chef title. Create a room that sets up people to create important memories, because we are in an experiential economy right now, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's everything. As we know in restaurants, it's all about details. Right. And it's the right lighting. It's the right music. It's the right ambiance. It's the right decor. And I really think that, a lot of what we do now, and especially in this new generation, I think it goes from a memorable experience to memorable moments. because we live in now just moments on what you can post on Instagram or what you can put on Twitter or anything else. And they're just brief moments. And building and designing a menu that people are going to post on and live moment to moment and get people to be in the moment with them. And it's creating fun, interactive ideas when we're bringing out, certain dishes or stuff like that where people want to share and want to be involved. Because we might only have 86 seats in the restaurant, but if we have people posting on Instagram and we have people putting it on their social media pages, we have a lot more than that. We have an audience now.
Yeah, and that's so important. So when you're thinking about designing a place, you have to have those social media moments that are in place. So how does that affect the way that you design the property? Because you're no longer just thinking about the people in the seats, but the ones that you hope to get in the seats.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's, when you're looking at it on a design aspect, you look at it and it's just, is this something that someone could relate to? Yeah. Is it something that, people want to share with their friends or with their following? And really creating an environment that is enriched to a multitude of generations, really.
Right, and that's a pretty awesome right there. So, how far should people be seated apart from each other? To
be honest with you, I like intimate dining. I think that the closer people are and in kind of the communal feel. I think it kind of goes both ways. Because if you have a single diner, majority of the time they're going to go to the bar because they want to sit, they want to interact with the bartender, they want to interact with people. I think food and a dinner table is just welcoming. And if they're sitting close enough to where they're not intrusive, but they're also sitting close enough to be a part of the conversation, that's huge. Because there's some people who do like that, and they do like to interact. There are those people who are just majority like on their phone or, something like that, and they're either posting or, keeping their followers up to date on what they're doing. But, when you're having an experience, it just what you make it. And when you are sitting someone, which would normally be, maybe a bit uncomfortable, you just see it actually come to life. And that's what makes the restaurant industry so much fun, is because you sit down at a dinner table every single day of your life, or you sit down at a conversation with your friends, your family, and people you haven't seen for a long time. You have business deals. Anything happens over a dinner table. And when you put someone close together, you just don't know, what kind of connection they may have.
Right. Outside of a clean, comfortable room, a great meal is most essential for the hospitality experience for your guests, because just like Eric said, that is exactly where all of it happens. The memories are made, the deals are done, and the digestion begins to occur. And for me, sometimes I have a couple of cocktails as well. So, Eric, what's one thing that you thought was going to work, but you've realized in the first month or so that you needed to make a change? And I don't want to put you in a box, but I find that, everybody, nothing is going to be perfect all the time. And I love being able to learn and show people, especially the younger people that are coming up, that even if you have great ideas, sometimes they're not going to come out as the way we had hoped.
Yeah. I think that I'm trying to pinpoint something because it's only been.
It doesn't have to be. Maybe even if it's at a previous job that you had, if nothing has become evident as of yet, since you're only a few weeks in.
It's a really good question. I'm actually kind of stumped on it right now.
All right, that's good. Well, it's good to know Eric. Eric is perfect, unlike the rest of us out there. So that's good to know. Let's talk about Vegas for a little bit. When you worked in SLS, and you had also mentioned that you worked for Wynn Resorts in Las Vegas, those are massive properties. In particular, the Wynn property. But you also, Wynn has done an incredible job at creating intimate spaces within that massiveness. I think Encore. When they set out to build a boutique hotel, I think they really achieved that, especially in the early iterations when the casino floor is a little bit more broken up. It really felt that way. So what were some of the lessons that you learned in the Las Vegas market that helped you better prepare to rock it out in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I think, working for TWA Group was just an incredible experience. And, I think as people know, that they're the highest grossing revenue restaurant group in the country. And the way that we were able to get bodies in the door within a 6-hour period, and we're talking like 800 to 1,000 people, every single day. It was, it was an incredible experience to kind of be a part of a machine that just ran so well. Right. The one thing that differentiated TWA Group and the Bazaar is, we were doing 800 covers, but anybody who's been to the TWA restaurants, it's a little rough, it's a little rugged. And when I went over to the SLS and went over to the Bazaar, that really kind of fine-tuned, what service and what an experience is all about.
Right.
TWA restaurant is a place where like you want to be. It's the scene, right? And it's like you get to the restaurant, you head to the bar, you have a few cocktails, and you have then you go to your table. And It's a bit rough, it's a bit rugged, it's fast, it's loud, it's fun. And then when you go to the Bazaar, it's more so chef-driven. And it's more so, being in the Bazaar, which is also a destination restaurant, but really kind of, focused, food focused and experience focused. But being in the Las Vegas market, I mean, honestly, I haven't worked in New York, but I would say next to New York, it's a hospitality driven town.
Yeah, it really, really is. For those folks that don't know TWA Group, other than the restaurants, they also own a bunch of nightclubs and stuff, kind of like Marquee at Cosmopolitan. And I believe TWA Las Vegas, at least a few years ago when I last saw it, was definitely one of the highest grossing venues in the country, well over $50 million a year at that one. So that is absolutely incredible that you get to work in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And I think, Las Vegas, it really kind of set me up for success to really kind of venture into the LA market. And even though, LA and Las Vegas are only 4 hours apart or 250 miles, they are completely different. And it's extremely difficult for a Las Vegas operated property to come to LA and succeed, and also vice versa. And which, it's funny, like LA, TWA Group and SLS, have both made that transition.
Yeah, it's great to see. And speaking of transitions, you made a transition. So what do you like most about working at Locala? Could it be the Mexican chocolate churro with horchata anglaise and salted caramel? Or, I don't know, maybe it's career satisfaction. I don't know you too well. You tell me.
Listen, I working at the Mayfair Hotel, when I was driving here and I was interviewing for the job, and I was roaming around the neighborhood, I was like, this might not be for me.
Right.
And then I walked in, and my mind completely changed. The Mayfair is a true hidden gem in the downtown area. And when I walked in, it completely changed my perspective on what this hotel was all about. So working at the Mayfair has been, a complete joy for me, because I'm able to leave my footprint on what this food and beverage program is going to be and how we are going to develop within the downtown area, because as we know, there's a lot of competition down here, but how we're going to make the Mayfair a true restaurant LA experience, and how we're going to differentiate ourselves from the rest.
How long should menus be updated, in your opinion? Because I'm sure a chef is hitting it out of the park with certain things, but then there might be things that people just don't get or understand that need to go. How do you run it through the filter to know what stays, what goes, when to make changes, all that good stuff?
I think it's up to us to run product mixes every month. I think the staple dishes that they should stay on the menu. And I think that they'll, always be a part of the menu. But seasonality. So I think, different seasons, we put different dishes on, we run different specials. But it's up to us as operators to run our product mixes every month, and take a look at what's selling and what's not, what people are enjoying, what people are not enjoying, and how we can change things. And it might just be minor tweaks. Some people just might not like a certain component on the dish. Maybe overall they love the protein, but we just need to fix that. And that's really, talking with Chef Caro, each month, and kind of understanding what, what's out there and what people are saying, and our servers, and talking to them and the feedback that they're getting from the guests on what they like and what they don't like.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I never thought of it that way. But you as an executive on that side of the business, it makes sense, because sometimes I'm like, oh, this dish sounds great, but then there'll be one component that's not the main feature of the dish that kind of turns me off, and then it puts me off the whole dish. So I may have spent the money on it, but then I choose to go elsewhere. So that's a really smart thing to think about. Don't just look at the dish in the whole way, but break it down into its components and think about what the friction points might be between you and the customer.
To me, I don't want to compromise the integrity of the dish. Chef created it the way that
of course,
enjoy it. But we have to take a look at it, from an operator standpoint as well, and give the people what they like.
Yep. All right. What's your favorite TV cooking show?
Favorite TV cooking show?
Yeah.
You're putting me out there now. I have so
many. I don't know where this question came from, but any show that's on TV that's food related. And anyone that jump out to you?
Yeah, probably Beat Bobby Flay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Chopped, or any of the cooking shows where these guys got to get creative within, just moments' notice.
I cannot watch Chopped anymore because I keep wanting to be the host of that show, and it makes me too jealous. But I'm amazed at how freaking awesome those chefs are. How the heck do they do what they do? And it really shows you that being a chef is something that is super incredibly creative, because it's not something I could do.
Yeah, same here. I can run operations on the front of the house, but once you get me behind, I do love to cook, but there's some things that I just can't do. And then I'm just, as far as when it comes to different sauces and different things, that's not my area of expertise.
Yeah, that's for sure not my area of expertise either, although I really love to have it. Ooh, we got a pork belly banh mi braised Vietnamese caramel on top of cucumbers. Dang! Sounds like a real good spin on the classic sandwich there. I love Vietnamese sandwiches. I think they are freaking awesome. And I love how French culture is going to combine with Vietnamese culture to create something very exciting over there.
Great.
All right. So before we wrap up here, Eric, before I start going on some sort of weird segue there, I think you've earned a good opportunity for a shameless plug. Tell us about Locala, how to find the Mayfair Hotel, all of that good stuff. Anything you want to say, you will not be judged.
Yeah, wonderful. So, we're super excited to be on your show, and thank you so much for having us. We really are trying to get the word out there about the Mayfair Hotel, about the restaurant experience, about the hotel experience, and really get people into the doors, because once they get in the doors, I think we got them for life. As we look in and when they're here on vacation, I think they're going to stop by. Our opportunity in the food and beverage program is to keep people in the building. I think that's something that Las Vegas does the best. They have different experiences throughout the hotel to keep them on property, and that's something that we're focusing on here. We are opening a speakeasy here very soon, within the next month or so, and also opening in spring of 2020 is our brand new pool deck, which is going to be amazing. And it has the most incredible view of the skyline of downtown LA, which no other property on the west side of the 110 has. And it's incredible, so you can find us at mayfairla.com. Please, check out the website, check out the restaurants, come in, make a reservation on Open Table. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you back, and we'd love to have you stay with us.
Great. I love it. And I got to tell you, your shameless plug was so good. When I'm out towards the end of January at the America's Lodging Investment Summit, I think maybe I'll come by and say hello to you guys, bring some friends, and have a little bit of a celebration that we made it through 2019 into 2020.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I want to thank Eric for being here. I want to thank you guys listening. And on the other side of the commercial break, we're going to have an amazing interview with somebody. I don't know who it is yet, because I may not even done the interview by the time I record this. But you guys know that. You see who it is in the show notes. Stick around, because we got a great interview coming up right after this.
Thank you.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here, and listen, for nearly 50 years, that's incredible, nearly 50 years, Red Roof has been proven that value and quality can exist on the same piece of real estate. And that's true across every Red Roof offering. Right off the bat, Red Roof Inn can boast some of the highest RevPARs in its segment and has been #1 in online reviews 9 years running. While Red Roof Plus is the brand extension that created the upscale economy market and is having a dramatic impact on owners' financial results. And I know this, guys. I've interviewed some of these owners and they love this product. Then, of course, there's Red Collection, a group of upper mid-scale, unique city-centric hotels inspired by each area's vibe and cultures. You know how essential that is, right? And it is going to help franchisees with the opportunity to affordably invest in new markets. And for those looking to get into the explosively fast-growing extended stay market, that trend that I keep talking about for the last few years, why aren't you in on it yet? Well, get in on it now, because you've got hometown studios and the chance to gain all the perks of doing business with Red Roof. In fact, from upscale economy to extended stay to city-centric in 2020, you can't afford to ignore Red Roof. Get that ball rolling and call Matt Hostetler. He's Red Roof Senior VP of Development and Franchising. You know that. You see him at all the shows. You see him absolutely everywhere. He's a guy you want to do business with. Give him a ring at 713-576-7426 or email him at mhostetler@redroof.com. That's MHOSTETLER at redroof.com. Happy 2020, everyone. And welcome back to No Vacancy Podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. But you already knew that because my name's in the title of the show. Today I'm with Scott Gerber of Gerber Group. And I don't know if you guys have heard of these guys, but you may not have heard of these guys, but you have definitely had cocktails at some of their places. I know I spent a lot of time going to the whiskey bars and W hotels when I was a little bit younger and still fit in those scenes. But now I'm a little older and grayer. And I want a little bit more casual type atmosphere. Maybe like the Connie at the TWA Hotel. I want to talk about that. Hi, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for having me. I got to be honest with you. You're one of those guys that I've been wanting to talk to for a really long time. So I'm glad that this kind of came up out of nowhere.
Me too.
So, you know, you guys are very, very well known for bars and all of that kind of scene and really reinventing what it could be over the last 20 plus years or so. But I think the best place to start is where you're at today in your newest iteration. You've got several locations over at the TWA Hotel. And if you guys don't know about the TWA Hotel, well, you've probably just woken up out of a coma because I've never seen a hotel publicity drive as good as that one. And I got to confess, Scott, I haven't been over there yet. I mean, I'm at Kennedy Airport almost every single week, but I haven't been there. But I'm going to promise you, after this, on Sunday, I'm off to Vegas. I'm going to go stop there and have a cocktail over at the Connie because, man, that looks cool. How'd you get involved in that project?
Yeah, first of all, it's an incredible project.
Yeah.
And I think when you have a project that's so iconic between the Sarandon building and the Connie and then the rooftop pool at an airport, you know, it's hard not to get great press.
Right.
I mean, I think that the restoration that Tyler Morse and MCR did for the Sarandon building is just, you know, really...
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Did you go there as a kid?
I did.
Yeah, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because I figure we're in the same decade of age, and I remember going there all the way into the sometime in the 80s and maybe even the 90s. It's possible.
Yeah, maybe, but you know they really stopped using that.
Yeah.
You know, as a terminal, like, you know, kind of.
You know when the last time I think they used it is when JetBlue first started, and you would check in through there and go down those long tubes into like the this weird temporary ugly kind of building that seemed pretty forced, right? So the property just reopened over the summer. You're involved in the multiple locations of it. How did you get in touch with Tyler? How did that all come together?
Tyler used to work at Starwood.
Right.
And obviously, we were partners with Starwood, did a lot of W stuff, so he had known about us. And we ran into each other probably about 3 years ago at a Hospitality Alliance board meeting. And he said to me, you know, we just ended up with this property. You know, some other developers had it. You know, we're getting it. We're going to do this great restoration. Maybe you want to talk to us about doing it. And it wasn't really something that we thought about because, you know, although it's a hotel, typically, you know, we want to be, you know, partners with hotels that have similar demographics to us. And so we just weren't really sure what this was going to be. And as we started talking more about it and really seeing the property and understanding his vision for it, we were like, yeah, this is something that's iconic and something that we should really try and get involved in. So we started off with the Sunken Lounge, which is, you know, that kind of beautiful red lounge in the middle of the Sarandon building. And then he said, we're going to do a rooftop pool. And I'm like, a pool at the airport? Really? Like the runways? Who's going to want to be up there? But, you know, he had an incredible vision, and he's so, like, excited about what he's done, and everything is so, like, just on point when you go and you see it.
It seems like this project is very different than any other hotel project that I've seen because of everybody's got passion, but there was something different about that, trying to recapture a moment of history with a little bit of a modern twist, but really honoring that 1960s aesthetic is really something special.
Yeah, it really is special. And when you go, you know, when you see it and you see even the hotel rooms, I mean, he's got, you know, he went out and bought rotary phones.
Yes.
I mean, they're digital now, but they're rotary phones. You know, he's got, you know, pencils. He's got just the level of detail that he went to really, you know, honor, you know, the decade that it was there. And you'll see the historic restoration of the building is just, you know, it was very expensive, but it was so worthwhile.
Absolutely. And when he's talking about those rotary phones, they actually took the shells of the rotary phones and put the modern components inside them. And they did lots of other things like that utilize and leverage modern technology, but really are in the shell of that 1960s kind of feeling. Even down to the way that they did the floor, right? It looks just like a more expensive 1960s, 50s, 40s era floor would look, but done with modern techniques.
Well, but a lot of it was original.
Yes.
I mean, you know, they kind of just, you know, patched a lot of stuff.
It's amazing.
There. So, I mean, even if you look at the light fixtures that are in the ceiling or the air conditioning units, I mean, when you go and see it, you'll really be able to understand it. But it's incredible. So he approached us with
and I do feel guilty that I haven't been over there.
Okay, you'll be there soon.
I will be. I will be. And hopefully before this airs, because this will air in like a month or so after we record today. So I will have been there, and maybe I'll be able to put a little coda on it about how much I actually liked it. So you get involved in this project. How does it all come together? How much do you bring to it? How much is Tyler's overarching vision?
So I would say that the vision for the project was really mostly Tyler.
Right.
I mean, we got involved from a practical operational point of view on, keeping in mind that when this was originally built, that Sunken Lounge was not built as a bar.
Right.
Right. So there were
it
was
a waiting area before you board your flight.
That's all it was a waiting area. So all of a sudden we had to figure out, how are we going to create bars and bar service? And because of the historic nature, there were a lot of issues getting SHPA, which is, the State Historic Preservation Office, to approve certain things. You're not allowed to kind of, drill down through the floor and all this other stuff. We had to try and figure out how are we going to create these bars. So we were able to create 2 circular bars where these 2 pedestals that were kind of used for ads, they would put cars on them and stuff like that. So we basically removed those and put 2 circular bars on either side. And you'll see it looks like it belongs.
Right.
So that was a big part of it. Then the other part of it was, talking about the Connie. So they bought this Constellation airplane.
So
this
freaking cool.
Incredible renovation to it.
Right. And let me add a little detail for the listeners. They needed to go find these seats because the airplane didn't really have the stuff they wanted in it. So it was like a hodgepodge of stuff bought in garage sales and auctions or whatever it might be, and they had to refurbish all of that in order to have that real touch of history.
Right. Right. I mean, the last use of the plane was basically for running drugs.
Right.
So they had stripped the whole thing out. They had cut a big cargo door so they could dump the weed out the back of the thing, which was great for us because we need accessibility, ADA accessibility.
I thought you needed access to weed quickly.
Well, yeah, we might. Not yet, but maybe soon.
Right.
They had to go and really do a lot of, homework on what is the history of this plane. And if you walk into the plane, you'll see the cockpit is there that you can go into. We've got these refurbished seats that are amazing. I mean, obviously, we built a little bar in the back, so that was never there. But it's a great space. It can be, private events. We can put 100 people in there.
In the airplane?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that large.
Yeah.
Again, me not being there really is putting this conversation at a deficit.
Yeah, no, you'll see it. It's pretty incredible. So, the other thing was that if you have to stay at JFK right now overnight or whatever it is, there's no hotels that you're really going to want to stay at, right?
No, and they're a real pain in the butt to get to, and I've actually done that before. Like, the snowstorm is coming. Let me stay at the hotel, and then I'll be able to catch my flight in the morning, right? And while there are a lot of great brands out there, they're not really convenient to get to, and they don't really honor the feeling of travel being good. Right.
So what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring kind of our level of service, great cocktails, great food to this environment because there are people that, like you said, the other day there were flights that were delayed for 3 and 4 hours. Mm-hmm. It's nice to be able to go and sit and have a cocktail and some food, or Jean-Georges has a restaurant. You can go have, dinner there or lunch there. So it's nice. Travel today is a pain in the ass, right? Mm-hmm. And it can be really horrible. So if you can bring a little bit of kind of pleasure to it, we think we have a great audience for that, and it's proven to be very successful.
And what's interesting to me is that MCR is looking to not have 100% occupancy per day, not even 150%, but 200% occupancy every single day, meaning people coming in, they got layovers 5-6 hours, they might rent a room for a little while, they might have a couple of cocktails, that sort of thing. So that plus delays and all that really creates a broader audience than I thought you would have had, because I think back to the building at LAX, that real classic, what is it, atomic style building, that didn't really find its footing, but I don't feel the same way about this particular project.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this is that, like you said, so you're flying in on a red eye from LA, you land here at 6 o'clock in the morning, you have a 12 o'clock meeting in New York City.
Right.
You take a room, sleep for a couple hours, take a shower, and then end up, at your meeting. So that's, how you get more than 100% occupancy.
Right.
That's one part of it. The other part of it is that you have a big company that has flying people in from all over the country for a 2-day meeting.
Yep.
Right? Now, you land at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you've got a 2-hour drive into the city. Then you're going to put these people up for 2 days, and you're probably going to pay $500 a night for a room. And then you got to find the meeting space to be able to accommodate everybody. So this has 50,000 square feet of meeting space.
50,000.
Yeah.
Where did they fit it all?
So it's all subterranean.
Okay.
So when you go out there, you'll see that where the Connie sits
Right.
is a big tarmac.
Yes.
Everything below that is ballrooms and meeting space.
I had no idea there was so much space there, and it's important for you folks out there that don't understand what this building is. You've got the main classic historically preserved building, and then two arched buildings behind it that serve as the hotel towers. I think it's underneath there is where all that meeting space is. So that makes a lot of sense. And if you check back in some of the older No Vacancy episodes, we talk all about the resurgence of these great hotels that are at airports, mostly because of what you're saying, Scott. Why have somebody come all the way into the city? Maybe if you just do a job interview, so people could come in. They don't even have to leave the airport grounds, and then they could go home again. That saves a lot of people time. That saves people a lot of money, and it's one of the main reasons why they're seeing these take off. But you're a bar guy. You're a drinks guy. You're all about creating great atmospheres for people to imbibe in. How does all of this inform what your programs were for the respective places over at the TWA Hotel? And then I want to take it a little bit broader.
So, one of the advantages that we have is that our reputation enables us to hire great people.
Right.
And then the other advantage we have is that TWA is not beyond security. Right. So the biggest issue with hiring great people, and our business is all about the people. I mean, yes, we make great cocktails. Hopefully we have great ambiance. Music's good. But at the end of the day, it's the people.
Right.
When you have to go through security every day, it becomes a hassle. And nobody wants to have, roadblocks to get to their job. Right. So we've been able to attract some really great people. And it's the hospitality business that we're in. So we train them well. You're going to go and you're going to have an experience at TWA just as you would at any of our other properties. And that's difficult to find in airports. And we think we've brought that level of service to that property. The quality of the drinks are great, like in all of our places. We use fresh ingredients. So you're getting, a real Gerber Group bar experience in an airport. And I think that's not very common.
No, it isn't. So how do you have to adjust what you normally do when you're dealing with a 24-hour kind of operation as opposed to, and maybe this is just my presumption, of what you've done in other hotels where it's more of an afternoon, evening kind of a thing?
Yeah, and I would say, in fairness, it's not really a 24-hour business.
Because it's not like Vegas where you can drink all the time.
No. And yes, we will get people, coming through at 6 o'clock in the morning for their Bloody Mary because they're a little freaked out.
It's more of like an airport thing.
Yeah, but it's not, you're not rocking till 4 o'clock in the morning because, like you said, people are usually, getting some sleep before they get on their early morning flight. So it's not really a 24-hour thing, but, the logistics of, operating a pool and a rooftop is a little bit different. Especially at the airport. And then the airplane is obviously very different because it's confined spaces and it's not like we have any storage to, put backup liquor and things like that. So it's the logistics, that are a bit different.
So what's the pool experience like at a hotel overlooking a runway and all of that kind of stuff?
It is basically a full-on party. It's incredible. I mean, you get a lot of different kinds of people up there. You get people that are kind of coming up to party at a pool. They don't really care where you are. It happens to be at the airport. Right. You get other people that are these plane spotters that will come up there and spend 4 hours just staring at the planes. I mean, the first time I went up there and I saw and I heard the planes landing, I'm like, it's kind of loud up here. The people love it. They don't care. I mean, we have background music. It's like it's irrelevant. And then all of a sudden, you could be looking out to the east and you see a plane that's on fire because they're, testing.
They do the testing.
Right. Yes. And the first time you see it, it's like, oh shit, there's a plane on fire.
I did that.
Yeah, I did too.
I was at Terminal 4 and I'm taking a video.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And then somebody's like, they had the fire testing over
there. Exactly. So it's all different kinds of people. And then we did a partnership with Blade Helicopters this summer. And so basically what they did is they said, okay, you get on Blade.
Right.
We'll fly you out to JFK. You go up to the pool.
And this is from lunch. Like the east side of Manhattan.
Yeah, east side or the west side. And, they had a deal. You come out, you have lunch at the pool, spend a couple hours, and then they fly you back.
Oh.
So it was pretty cool. So we would do like 3 or 4 helicopters a day.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was great.
That is really, really freaking cool. So tell me a little bit about the cocktail program itself. And the thing that amazes me is that you guys have been at this for a really long time, but it feels like the majority of the hotel industry just woke up to the idea that, booze can make money within the last 10 years or so since the Great Recession happened. So, what's your focus? How do you figure all of this out? How do you stay on trend? I love all of these, the good drink talk.
Yeah. So I think, our philosophy has always been that we want to be aware of trends, but not trendy.
Right.
And so
because if you're trendy, then you're going to be out of business really quick.
Right.
Right.
But some people have that as a business model, right? Some people
Right.
are okay being trendy for 2 years.
Right.
They kill it, and then they go on to the next thing and figure out the next thing. That's just not our business model.
No, and I see that a lot perhaps in the nightclub world, right? Because those are almost lightning in a bottle. They can't last forever. And you see that in particular in Las Vegas, a lot of the clubs recycle and become something new after 5-6 years.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's not our business model.
Right.
We want to develop places that are fun to go to, that you have a great experience, and you come back 2 years later to this same city and you say, hey, where should I go? Or you go back to that bar and it's still fun, right? And that's what we're trying to create. When it comes to our cocktail program, we always have the classic cocktails. We've had them from the beginning. We will always have, our classic Manhattan. We'll have our Negronis. We'll have all that stuff. But what we've done a lot over the past several years is figured out, what are people interested in as far as new ingredients? So it could be a cold pressed juice that's got greens in it, right? So some people are saying, I don't want sugar in my drink, so I'm going to take, cold pressed green juice and mix that with a vodka. So obviously you're not being that healthy, but it's healthier than if you were to put, something that's really sugary and, artificial. So we've always done that. We've always used fresh ingredients, fresh pressed juices, orange juice, grapefruit juice. And I think that's always been a big focus. But I think, what people have gone to these days is, people are into mezcal these days. People are into, tequila is, off the hook.
Right. I know your brother Randy has a tequila company, right?
Yeah. He had a tequila company.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were pretty successful with that one.
Right.
But it's, we love to give people what they want. Very often somebody will come to the bar and say, I don't know, what do you want to make me? And, I like tequila, suggest something. So we do that. But it's really, we don't want to be those mixology bars where we're telling you what to drink, right? We want to give you what you want to drink. And I think that's important. I mean,
Tell me a little bit about the nuances there, because on one level I understand, but on another I don't quite understand.
So I'll give you an example. I went to a bar the other night that's not worth naming.
Right, I get it.
But I was going to, I said, I drink Casamigos. I'd like a Casamigos. Well, we don't carry Casamigos. Okay. What do you carry?
Right.
Well, we only carry one type of tequila. Never even heard of it.
Right.
Okay. The person I was with said, I'd like gin and tonic. Well, we don't really carry tonic. We only carry.
What?
It was so bizarre. And so the bartender ultimately said, well, here's our cocktail list, and this is kind of what you can have.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that doesn't really work for me. To me, you need to serve people what they want.
Right.
You shouldn't be telling me what I should be drinking. And, there are a lot of, mixology places where they're like, we're not going to give you a vodka because we think that's like, that's not the right thing to put into a drink. We're going to give you gin. Well, what if I don't like gin?
Right.
So, again, it's just not our way of doing business, but I guess for some people it's been successful. Yeah,
I guess it makes sense, and it's a real smart way to do it, because I think it helps people enjoy the experience that they want to have. And in a day of personalization, it really dictates that. And of course, your bartenders are skilled enough to be the mixologist that people want, should they want that particular thing. One of the bars that I've been to often because I felt more comfortable there is like the Campbell, for example. I think that's really special and different, and really shows to me how a great existing atmosphere could come together with a great beverage program to create a real organic experience that people really get into.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Campbell has been, great for us so far. We took it over 2.5 years ago. I think we were very, very respectful to the history of it. Originally when I was talking about it, people were all freaked out, like Gerber Group's taking it over and they have Mr. Purple and they're going to put a disco ball up and it's going to ruin the whole vibe of what it was. And, I also said, I wear jeans to work and I want to be able to go there in jeans. And you just have to wear a suit. I'm like, that doesn't work for me. And people started there was press that came out saying the end of the Campbell, it's never going to be the same. And so I shut up and we just opened it. And now people are like, wow, we made a mistake.
Right.
You guys really, respected the history. I think we've just really improved what was there. It's got, great sound, great lighting, beautiful furniture, and now great cocktails. And the other thing that I'm told all the time is that people would say to me, I don't go to the Campbell because you can never get a table. You'd have to wait forever for a drink. And I say, well, have you been there in the past 2.5 years? They're like, no. I said, well, please go back. First of all, you can make a reservation. Second of all, you're definitely going to get a drink quickly. It's going to be great. I said, we have air conditioning now in the summer. You're not going to be sweating to death. I said, it's a completely different hospitality experience. The room still looks the same. I mean, you're not going to go in there and say, oh, wow, I can see the lighting's different, but it feels nicer. There was a time where it was just getting run down.
Right.
And maybe that's because it was getting towards the end of the lease and the prior owner didn't know if he was going to get it or not. But, to me, it's one of those kind of iconic rooms where it just makes you feel great being in there.
Right. And that's really important, is creating spaces that make people feel great so they spend more time and therefore spend more money, right? Now you've got 15 different outlets right now, and they all have to be kind of different, but they all have to be culturally kind of similar, right? So how do you balance creating what's right for either the venue or the hotel that you're within or the complex that you're at, while also able to maintain that particular corporate culture?
Right. So obviously we're looking at the hotel brand that we're with.
Right.
We don't want to be the hotel bar. And what do I mean by that?
Well, you mean like I would think, like your typical full-service hotel where you just go down there and it's a forgettable experience.
Exactly. So,
but you get your gin and tonic.
Right. But the important thing today is that, when we started off in the boutique hotel business, there were really a couple of boutique hotels, right? Those were different than every other hotel.
And people didn't use the word experience all the time. But you folks were very, very focused on that right on the onset.
Right. And we learned that. We started with Ian Schrager. He was doing boutique hotels. There were no boutique hotels. Now, everybody is a boutique hotel.
Right. Even the mainstream brands.
Everybody. And so, I say this all the time. If I blindfolded you, put you into a hotel, took the blindfold off, you'd have no idea what brand you were in. Right. So why are you going to choose one brand over another? And the answer typically comes down to the F&B program, right? If we're creating the right kind of bar that is difficult to get into because of popularity, but you're staying in that hotel and you can get into that bar because you're a hotel guest,
right,
you're going to stay in that hotel versus the one across the street.
Right. And Scott just said something very, very telling is about access these days. It's about feeling special. It's about that access, and it's about feeling like you can get something that other people can't. And by creating that rarefied air, I think that really pushes the loyalty, or if nothing else, at least a cool factor, and then people are going to Instagram about it and get the word out about it and help create that happening, right?
Right, but keep in mind, we're not kind of falsely creating that.
I understand.
We're not doing the velvet rope thing to say, we don't like a guy wearing a plaid shirt, so you're not coming in.
Right. Is that a swipe at me, sir?
No, but this is pure capacity, right?
Yeah.
So if we're at legal capacity, yes, we're going to figure out how to get you in if you're staying in the hotel, but otherwise you're going to have to wait. We'll take your number, we'll text you when we have room for you.
Awesome.
But otherwise, you want to be staying in that hotel. So that's really the key, whether it's, a restaurant or a bar. If you can create that differentiating factor, that drives ADR and that drives room rate.
Right.
And so that's really the key as to why hotels come to us.
And it's one of the critical things that every single person out there needs to be aware of, because as you said, all the hotels are kind of the same. And I know you're going to be arguing with me out there, guys, that they're not the same. But I feel a lot of times hotels have all pivoted in a different direction. And I've said this before, but they've all pivoted differently in the same direction, right? And as society changes and as we focus much, much more on experiences rather than material possessions, meeting with friends and that food and drink component is essential to everybody's success out there, right?
Yeah, 100%. And what we keep saying is that, we're one of the last bastions of that you're never going to be able to buy our experience online. You can buy everything else online, but you can buy, meeting friends and having a drink or having dinner. That's always going to be there. But I think it's important that you have to be respectful of who your guest is. We design our bars in hotels to attract locals. Right. If you don't attract locals, you're going to have nothing, because you're going to go to a city and you're going to want to have that local experience. If everybody in that bar or restaurant is all tourists, you're going to go and find that local experience and
Not only that, but it's better for your bottom line to be able to become something within the community because they're always going to support you. And that is helpful if you're having, slow nights, slow weeks, or if the hotel economy kind of shifts in a negative direction. Right. So how do you create spaces that give people the opportunity to be with each other and create great memories?
So one of the things that is really important that we do is understand who our hotel partners and what that brand is, because we want to be complementary to that brand. We want to understand, do they have a similar demographic to what we're trying to attract? And in most cases, they do.
Right.
And so you have to look at the physical space that you're given to work with. So like if you take Mr. Purple, it was a new build.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that so they can understand?
Sure. So Mr. Purple is at the Hotel Indigo down on the Lower East Side. It's on the 15th floor. It's got a pool on one deck, and then it's got another deck it's between Ludlow and Orchard. But it was a new box. It was a new glass box, and it was being built on the Lower East Side. It's 28 stories, and every other building down there is basically 6 stories. So we wanted to make sure that we were going to be authentic to the Lower East Side, and we came up with an idea to create kind of an artist loft. We wanted to be kind of thrown together. We wanted it to look like it had been there for a while, and we wanted to make sure we didn't over-design it because the views are amazing. And so I knew that people walking into that space, all they were going to do is look at the unbelievable views. So it didn't make sense to spend a lot of money on the floor, so we left the floor concrete. We put up some wood beams, we did some cool lighting, and then we put in furniture.
But that fits in nicely with the thematic that you're going for.
Right. And what we were able to do is we were able to get the locals to want to come and hang out. And they're bringing their friends, that are visiting from out of town. And then you have the hotel guests saying, well, we want to get into Mr. Purple. So the hotel's doing incredibly well. And, for us, it's about creating the right vibe for that place. Now you take, obviously the Campbell was very different. The Campbell is a historic space. We couldn't do much to it.
Right. And just for a little context for people, it's within Grand Central Terminal. When it was built, it was an actual apartment for this guy, Campbell, and now it's a bar.
Right. And it, again, so that was, a historic space that you basically couldn't touch. Anything. I mean, so we restored the wood, we restored the plaster on the walls, there's a hand-painted Venetian ceiling, so, everything there is pretty much original, and then we kind of restored some of the things that just were falling apart.
Right.
But you really have to look at kind of the market that you're in. We opened up 12 stories at the Intercon in Washington, D.C., at the Wharf. Again, a new build. And it's a very pretty Intercon hotel. But it's not really what we do. It's, it's kind of straight down the middle. It's pretty, but it's just straight down the middle. We had an opportunity to build a rooftop bar that has a separate entrance, and it's got a different vibe. It's got a more industrial vibe. It complements what they've done there, but it definitely feels different. You access it from an elevator that goes from the ground floor up directly, drops you off at 12 stories. It's got views of the river and the airport. It's got incredible views. But again, it's complimentary to people that are staying at the hotel. They don't feel uncomfortable walking into this different environment. Again, great food, great cocktails, good music, and it's been a great success for us.
How is the emergence of the rooftop bar as an essential amenity for hotels kind of changing the way you think about things?
Well, I mean, if you think back at when they used to build hotels, what was up on the roof? It was a water tower and it was an elevator machine room. And they were getting no income from those. The F&B part of hotels today is so critical in the success of the hotel that they need to use every space that they can that can generate revenue. And obviously, rooftops are generating huge revenue. You're seeing a lot of basement spaces converted. So they're looking for every which way to kind of squeeze money out of F&B.
Yeah.
And
it's true. It's like basements are becoming speakeasies, and rooftops are becoming the cool new place to go. Now, you didn't originally find your way down this path, so I'd love for you to share, how you wound up getting involved in this crazy business and how it wound up being the big passion for you to keep doing decade after decade.
Sure. So I started off as a real estate broker. I was doing a lot of corporate leasing and a lot of retail leasing. And my brother followed me into the business, and one of his first clients was Ian Schrager.
Right.
And Ian had just gotten out of jail and was going into the hotel business because he couldn't go into the bar business anymore. And he hired my brother's company to find him bar operators.
Right.
And Ian really wanted to do it himself, but he said, if I can find the cool bar, then I'll just, lease it to a bar operator. We brought him 15 different bar operators, every hot bar back, and this was late 80s. And he finally said to us, look, guys, I can do this. I know how to do this. Why don't you do it with me? You'll be my sort of like front guys.
Right.
I'll whisper in your ear how to do it,
right.
and you'll do it.
Smart.
So we were like, my brother and I were both single. We said, let's do it.
I guess you were in your mid-20s?
Yeah, we were, mid-20s.
Yeah.
And so...
How freaking cool.
Well, but the funny thing is, my brother and I are sitting there going, well, we'll be drinking for free.
Right.
I'm not thinking about the fact that we just invested like $200,000 in a bar.
Right.
So we kind of put that on the side. It wasn't really that free.
Right.
But, we were fortunate enough to be with Ian, and, we had, from the day that we opened, it was like lines out the door. It was a 900 square foot box.
Right.
It was the Whiskey at the Paramount Hotel. And it was, everybody that had been going to Studio 54 when Ian owned it was now coming to this little 900 square foot box. So it was just like a huge success. So we went and did that. Then we did Morgan's with Ian. Then we went and did the Sunset Marquee, the Whiskey at the Sunset Marquee in L.A. Then we did Sky Bar at the Mondrian.
Gosh.
And then we had then we did Whiskey Park, and then we did a Whiskey Bar and Grill in Chicago. And then when Starwood and Barry Sternlicht was looking to go into the boutique hotel business, this time he owned Westin, he owned St. Regis.
Yeah.
He thought it would be easiest to buy Ian Traeger Hotels and use that as a launching pad. So that's how we all got into the conversation of what was going on there. That deal didn't work out, but Barry came to us and said, look, guys, I've got all these assets that I already own that I'm going to convert. Why don't you do it with us? And so we said, okay, it sounds like a good deal. And we became partners with Starwood and developed the W Hotel brand. So that's kind of, at that point, I had to leave the real estate business and go full time because this was like, now we were building.
How were you doing both at the same time?
It was tough. I mean, so at one point, I basically just focused on my real estate clients, which was Armani, Hermes, and Dolce & Gabbana.
Wow.
And at the same time, Armani had hired us to run his restaurant. So he had restaurants in these cafes, so we started doing that as well. But at a certain point, when we partnered up with Starwood, I mean, I knew I couldn't do both. So at that point, I was like, okay, I think our bar business can be big enough to replace my income from the real estate business. And then I decided, okay, I'll go full time into the bar and restaurant business.
So I think this will work out for you?
I think it might. I sure hope so.
But it's pretty amazing that you were really at the epicenter of all of this. And again, I know I said it earlier, but really decades ahead of everybody with the trend. So what's some of the most notable changes that you're seeing out there now? And I know you don't want to be trendy and stay on trends, and I don't think we really adequately discussed how you position yourself now and how you make sure you stay that way for the long term and stay ahead of everyone else. Yeah,
and I think a big part of it is really listening and relying on people that I work with that are younger than me, that kind of understand what's going on, whether it's social media stuff and things like that, whether it's my kids or, people that I work with that I rely on because, I'm older than they are and it's something that I don't really understand.
I used to be associated with somebody that was very focused on their opinion, and they were older, and I think that they were missing out on opportunities because they weren't listening.
Right.
How do you know when to trust your gut and when to trust the younger folks?
I basically tell everybody that I work with that you can try whatever you want as long as I don't think it's going to bankrupt our company.
Right. Cool.
And that's my attitude. I mean, I know if I think something is going to be dangerous, obviously I'm not going to approve that. But everything else, I want people to have opinions. I respect their opinions, and I'm willing to try stuff.
Could you give me an idea that you never would have thought of that somebody brought to you that's worked out really well?
Let's see. I think it's almost anything. Like I said, the social media thing. How about podcasts, right? I mean, podcasts a couple of years ago didn't even exist, and now they're the most popular thing, and it's how people get their information. Whether it's their news or it's just learning about business or it could be anything. It could be spiritual stuff. So I think really understanding the impact of social media on our business, which to me, we never used to do advertising. We don't do advertising now. Right. We relied on public relations. Right. The social media stuff is something that you can't avoid, right? Instagram, Facebook, Snap, like all the stuff that I don't get.
right.
Is something that you have to do today. You have to start, designing places that are Instagram worthy, which we never would have thought of before.
Right. I always call those social media moments, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to get people to want to take those pictures and share those stories. So that must change the way that you approach some of the design that you're doing too, right?
It does. I mean, if you look at what we're designing now, so,
right.
A good example, I mean, TWA, we didn't have to do anything because
right.
it already existed. The Campbell already existed. But, when we built 12 stories in D.C., we commissioned a piece of art that says yes, mm-hmm. yes, yes. Every single picture you see posted from there is going to have people standing in front of yes, yes, yes. We built a place, Taco Electrico, and mm-hmm. we had, these two swings. Again, mm-hmm. people sitting in the swings, and that's what they want. Now, obviously, you have great cocktails, and people want to take pictures of those, or, a great dish that you're doing, and people love to, take photos of that stuff. But I think that you do need those Instagram moments, and that's something that comes into play when you're building a place and designing a place.
Yeah, one of the trendy drinks I see right now is people using a lot of smoke, yeah. right? Yeah. But that seems to me more like a short-term gimmick than a long-term play. Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things. There's either smoke where they're using dry ice to make it smoke, or
right.
they're actually smoking drinks.
Right.
And again, I'm not going to make you wait 10 minutes for your cocktail. Like, that's just not our business.
It's a great video, though.
It is. It's a very cool video. We can figure out other stuff.
All right. So let's talk about something more mundane then. How many different types of ice cubes do you guys normally have? I'm getting into the big round ones in my scotch.
You are. I mean, I don't love the big round ones because
right.
every time I drink it, it kind of hits my nose. So I don't love that. But we have big cubes. We always use solid cubes
right.
In our regular cocktails. And then we have these little pebbles that, mm-hmm. Some of my
right.
bartenders love. So, but again, we're not into, going back and carving the ice off the big block and stamping our, logo in it.
Right.
We're more kind of, I don't want to say traditional, but we're not gimmicky. And to me, that's gimmicky stuff.
It is gimmicky stuff. One thing that's never a gimmick that you touched on before is you don't have to wait long for a drink at the Campbell. And I will tell you that frustrates me more than ever. It takes me back to when I was in college and trying to get the bartender's attention and waving a $20 bill in front of their faces like they would pay attention to me. And I still see that in so many places. And I find that so many places are losing out on a lot of revenue because we'll only have one drink instead of maybe three.
Yeah, and I think what happens is sometimes, management doesn't manage properly. Okay, the reason that you'll be slow getting a drink is because maybe there's only one bartender.
Agreed, right? It's crazy.
But the bartender is selfish and they don't want to split the tips with another bartender.
Right.
It's management's obligation to make sure that you're providing great service. So if two people don't want to work together because they think they're not making enough money, there's plenty of other places they can work.
That's
it's
crazy.
Not going to be with us.
No, that is absolutely crazy. And I've been to too many hotels where there's just that one bartender. And I used to be involved in helping to put together these events before I started this No Vacancy company. And we would tell the hotel that you're going to get a lot of people coming in at about 9:15 p.m. and you're going to make a lot of money. And they wouldn't even bring a second bartender on board.
Right.
And how much are they paying a bartender per hour?
Yeah.
Right? It's foolish to me.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And it really doesn't make any sense. And our attitude is, like I said, all we have to offer to differentiate ourselves is great hospitality and great service, right? At the end of the day, I can't make the Heineken taste any different in my bar versus somebody else's bar.
Right.
So what do we have? We have great people that are engaging you in conversation, that are giving you prompt service, and creating a nice environment.
And the one word that comes to my mind is training.
100%.
Right? So how do you make all the people create the spirit of hospitality that you're looking to exude?
You can't teach hospitality. I can train somebody how to make a cocktail,
yeah.
but you can't train hospitality. So either you got it or you don't. Mm-hmm. So our interview process is mostly about what's your personality like.
Right.
Are you coming to work, in a good mood? And we tell people, if you had a bad day, don't come to work. Mm-hmm. You're not going to go to a bar and want to hear about, my sick aunt. Right. You're coming to be uplifted, whatever stuff you have going on, you want to be uplifted. So,
right.
But you can't teach somebody how to smile, how to be kind of vivacious, how to be hospitable. Mm-hmm. And so that's the number one thing that we look for, because we can train somebody how to make a cocktail.
Now, I know you said earlier on that you get the right type of people to apply, but as we continue to shift more from a society that makes things to a service economy. Is that kind of changing the way that you have to find people to join your team?
Well, it's becoming more and more difficult to find people
right.
that want to be in this business. And there's a bunch of reasons for it. I mean, obviously, the enforcement of immigration laws has put, a real damper on the people that will apply for jobs, right? That's one part of it. The other part of it is that millennials, unfortunately, feel like they're very entitled and they don't want to be in the service business. They don't want to go and be, cocktail servers. We interview people all the time, to come work with us, and they're like, yeah, I want to work with you, but I want to sit in your office and I want to be a corporate person. I'm like, okay, well, this is not the right place for you then. So it's becoming really difficult. And, one of the things that we just won't accept, we won't accept poor performance and poor attitude.
Right.
And what happens very often is you have a bar that's doing really well and everybody's making a lot of money and people think that they don't have to be hospitable.
Right.
They can just throw the drink at you and, that's something that we just have zero tolerance for. And we'll tell people, if you don't want to be here, leave. No problem.
Right.
Otherwise, do your job the way we would expect you to do it.
Have you started to hire anybody from Generation Z yet? Because they're all about starting to turn 21 now.
Yeah, we're starting to, but again, you have to really want to do this.
Right.
There's a lot of people that come in here and say, "Oh, it's going to be so cool. I want to be in the bar. I love bars and this and that." And I say, "Okay, I'll tell you what. You're going to go and shadow somebody for 2 nights." Being in a bar, not with your friends, not having a drink in your hand, getting off at 4:00 in the morning. Come back after those 2 days and tell me you still want to do that.
Right.
And I'd say 9 out of 10 of them say, you know what, Scott, you're right. We don't want to do that. Yeah. We want to go with our friends, have a drink, but we don't want to work there.
That's right. And I definitely like going out with friends for drinks. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts, anything that we missed that you're just dying to get out there, Scott?
No, listen, I love what I do, and if I didn't, I wouldn't be doing it anymore. Yeah. I get excited about every project. I love, seeing people that really enjoy what we've done when we build something. We've got some great new projects on the horizon. We're doing an Arlo Hotel on 38th and 9th that'll open up next summer.
Awesome.
Really exciting.
That's with it's IHG's.
No, it's not IG. It's an Arlo brand, so they've got one in Soho,
right. I'm
Nomad.
sorry. I apologize. There's so many brands coming out now.
I know.
There's an average of 1 new brand a month coming into the hotel business. It's a little bit hard to keep track of all of them. So that sounds like an exciting project.
Yeah, it's a new build on 38th and 9th, so that's really exciting.
So much is happening on that side of town right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And we're always looking at new opportunities. I mean, we're in the fortunate position where people come to us because, again, they know the value add that we bring to the hotel, and we have a lot of opportunities. We're looking in Charleston, South Carolina right now. We're looking in Las Vegas. So
Charleston's a killer.
Charleston
town,
will be amazing,
right?
Amazing.
Especially if you associate yourself with the right type of company. I feel like Charlestown hotels would work well with you guys, but I'm just throwing that out there.
All right,
I know nothing. But what like when you're looking in Vegas, you'd want to be in one of the major resorts or somewhere else?
No, in Vegas we want to be in a local market.
Oh, interesting.
So we used to have 2 places in Vegas. One was in Red Rocks and one was at Green Valley Ranch, both locals. We don't want to go and be on the Strip and competing with the big guys. First of all, we're not a club, and those are all clubs. So we're looking at something that is off the Strip. It's a mixed-use development. It's retail, residential, and office.
That's pretty cool.
So it's an exciting project.
By the way, I do love Red Rock.
Red Rock's amazing.
Red Rock is great. It's a great place if you guys are booking meetings. A great place to have over there because it's got that quintessential Las Vegas kind of vibe and energy about it, but everyone's not going to run away before you serve dinner.
Yeah, no. Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really great stuff over there. So I think it's time for a shameless plug. How can we find you besides GerberBars.com?
That's pretty much it. If you find us at GerberBars.com, come to any of our properties in New York, D.C., Atlanta. We'd love to have you.
Great. And I want to thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of you guys for listening as well. It's been a great show, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to go have a couple of drinks to Connie and fly away on some crazy drug deal. I don't know. See you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.